Alright, hi there everyone. It is May the 10th. It is Wednesday evening. It's Weather for Weather Geeks time. More great weather coming our way Thursday before some raindrops by Friday. We'll detail the timing, amounts, and impacts of rain at the end of the week momentarily. But first, we'll talk about how nice today was and how nice tomorrow will be. First things first, a quick shout out to Wild and Free, Mercer County. This is a homeschool group based over in Mercer County, but I met up with them in Hubbard today at Harding Park. We talked about all things weather, lots and lots of great stuff here prepared by the students, homemade barometers, thermometers, displays, presentations, all about weather and science. I brought some of my own weather instruments and gizmos to kind of talk with them about. And since this was such a nice day outside, we talked about, a lot of things to do with being outdoors and observing the weather outdoors. It's something I don't get to do enough of. I spend most of my time in this room where we don't have any windows, and it's not exactly conducive to looking up at the sky a lot of times, ironically, considering what my job is. But one of the things we talked about today was looking up and noticing the haze in the sky. It was not a perfectly blue sky out there today. We talked about this some on Weather Geeks last evening, and yeah, this wildfire smoke did move overhead, especially this morning, made for a vivid sunrise this morning. And while the smoke has thinned over the last handful of hours across our area, this was enough to make for a kind of a milky appearance to the sky. So I talked with the kids some today about the different types of clouds and ways to measure the weather when you're outside and talk about the weather. And this was a good example of what seemed to be a pretty simple weather day. When it comes to a forecast, it was just going to be a bright and sunny day, but we did have something interesting to look up at the sky and talk about. And these wildfires in Canada, this is out over western Canada, but the jet stream, the fast moving river of air up at about 30,000 feet roughly, transports a lot of this to the east, and then depending on which way the jet stream is blowing, it can come southeast, and it's come down into parts of the U.S., the eastern U.S., over the last 48 hours or so. Now, there can be a little bit of this still up in the sky tonight into tomorrow, but I don't think it'll be as thick, generally speaking, as it was last night and into this morning. All right, today's numbers got a little chillier than I expected this morning with a crystal clear sky. We had great radiational cooling conditions. Didn't see any reports of any frost or anything, but at the airport we dropped down to 37. Some of the coldest sheltered valleys saw 35 degrees first thing this morning, but we made it up to a high of 71 this afternoon, 2 above the average. Record on today's date, that sounds nice, 87 back in 1936. Let's check in on the rainfall numbers for the month and for the season, and well, for the year. For the month at the airport, we've picked up 3/4 of an inch worth of rain through the first 10 days. That's almost a half an inch less than average. For the season, for springtime, we're up to 8.43. That's just a shade above the average, and we're also a little bit above the average in total precipitation from January 1st to now at the airport. 15.34 inches is where we stand. We'll zoom through tomorrow pretty quickly because, again, it's going to be a beautiful day, mostly sunny skies. Warmer, in fact, the warmest day since April 21st, and probably our warmest day for at least another 10 days. We'll touch 80 in some spots tomorrow afternoon. Now, let's talk about how things will evolve as we go into the day on Friday. Here's just one run of one computer model, but it's fairly aggressive looking, pushing in some raindrops towards early afternoon on Friday. This might be a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too fast, but I don't think it's that far off. I think rain chances will increase as we change from morning into the afternoon on Friday, and that elevated risk for showers will continue into parts of Friday evening and the overnight into Saturday morning. But the good news for the weekend, once we lose the raindrops Saturday morning, we should be in good shape for the rest of the weekend. We have Mother's Day coming up this weekend, of course, and I do think that we'll have a partly sunny sky for much of the upcoming weekend, I should say, once we lose the rain Saturday morning. This will be a decent amount of rain for parts of the region, probably mostly to our south. Once you're down towards Columbus, Cambridge, Zanesville, Athens, Parkersburg, Marietta, places like that, an inch or so worth of rain will be pretty common in a lot of those locales. I think for us, we're somewhere on the order of 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain between Friday afternoon and Saturday morning. The Weather Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service, does have just about all of Ohio outlined in a low-end risk of flash flooding on Friday into Friday night. I do think the risk is definitely higher down here than it is up here, but technically speaking, parts of northeast Ohio and western PA are covered by that low-end risk. All right, this is where we've been the last 2 weeks. Of course, we took a big dip in our temperatures compared to average during the last part of April and the start of May. We've been near to a little above average now for 5 consecutive days, And we'll make it 6 in a row coming up on our Thursday. In fact, we'll be near the average or above the average pretty much each of the next 10 days. I don't see any abnormal cold, more than just a degree or two different from average, I should say, coming our way. I also don't see a lot of abnormal heat in the next 10 days. We're not likely to see an 86-degree day from now through about maybe the 20th to 22nd of May. I think we might have a better chance of seeing that kind of warmth as we get closer to Memorial Day at the end of May. And certainly, of course, we'll see days like that heading into June. But over the next 10 to 14 days, this is a pretty moderate pattern, or a temperate pattern, I should say. Not too hot, not too cold. Pretty good on our electricity bills because we won't be cranking the AC, and furnace season for most of us is just about done. All right, speaking of done, that's it for me tonight on Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here on Thursday with an update on that weekend forecast, the longer range, and much more.